So we have contracts by KindaFunny here as the second set. This one is Revenge of the Rhododendron, and we've got a lot of consumed poison to do. We'll be doing this one with strictly on-site procurement, so I won't be doing it suit only because of certain other issues, but I will go ahead and grab any items that I need without actually bringing any with me. And you can do this one much faster by just bringing poison, obviously. However, there's a way on Dartmoor to make poison, turning emetic poison into lethal poison, which we'll be doing quite a bit because the KindaFunny people seem to really like that. We'll also grab a crowbar, because there is some lethal poison on the map already. In Mr. Fernsby's office, there are the lethal pills that you can find from the investigation part. So we'll just grab those. That means we only need 3 emetics, and there are 2 in the greenhouse where you can make poison, so I only needed to pick up that 1 rat poison. Now, once we leave the kitchen, we're not allowed in the house, so I'm going to throw this ball to kind of distract Edward Carlisle, and we'll poison him. This is the only time we'll need to be in the house, so after we get out of here, through the window right there in the corner, we won't be trespassing anymore. We just have to make sure nobody catches us breaking into places or poisoning things. So that takes care of Edward. The reason why we kind of did all that rigmarole is, number 1, we need to get an extra emetic. Number 2, Edward drinks fairly early, and then it takes him a little while to drink again. So I wanted to get to him before he took a drink for the first time, and we'll just use Fernsby's pills, which makes it faster. Now, you have to be careful about the guard. Make sure that he's not nearby when you pop the greenhouse door. You might also want to crouch down here. Repairing seems to be non-suspicious, but making poison is suspicious. However, if you're crouched, even though you stand up to kind of mix the poison, that does not count as being visible, so anybody looking into the greenhouse won't be able to see you. So we just need to turn our rat poison and 2 of our emetic flowers into 3 lethal poison jars. And then we just have 3 targets. First one here is a guard. He just walks back and forth between that kind of spot where he's standing, and then he goes to his water bottle. Now, he is going to his bottle, so I kind of want to distract him here so I don't have to wait for an entire cycle.
Let me do my job.
Okay, I'll hear you.
Just wait for the gardener here.
Why is that happening?
Now, when she's standing right there and you're crouched, she can occasionally see you with a head turn, but normally she can't. So you can poison that even though she's kind of looking in your direction. Now, Rebecca, I would have liked to have gotten a little faster. There's probably better ways to route her in. She's one of the trickier ones because she'll take a drink fairly early, kind of too early for you to get to her. And then she leaves, and then she'll eventually come back, and it's just going to take a minute to actually poison her. She'll stand there, and then she'll walk into the main sitting room area,
I gave it to him
and then she'll come back. And she drinks pretty much first thing as soon as she comes back. But the only other person in here is that guard, and as long as he's over there looking at those specimens, we can poison him. Last person is this guard here. He's got a friend, so we're going to want to distract him.
She's insistent, that one.
Huh?
Go and check it out. Come on, go. Wait.
And just knock him out. Normally I don't like to do stuff like that, but in this case it's kind of unavoidable. So what we're going to do is just do another distraction, just to get him to turn around briefly. As long as his friend is concealed, he won't notice, but just to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and dump it into a container. Don't want to mess this up after taking all this time. And we'll poison his water bottle.
Is anybody there?
And it shouldn't take him too long to get back on it. And now we'll just head for the boat, because we are waiting for Rebecca to come back and drink. She's on her way back, but it's going to take her a minute. And then we'll need Mr. Hill to drink.
Doubt that's true, though.
By the time we get
He
to
was
the
here when
boat,
the
they
safe
should
in
both be in the
Carlisle's office
process.
was repaired last week. He had to carry some heavy bolt to the top floor to complain about back pain the entire weekend.
Just slowing down here because I know it's going to take a second. Fortunately, Rebecca doesn't see that guy. She's kind of single-minded on that. you can see where with this mission the timing is really based heavily on like Edward and Rebecca because of their longer cycles. The non-important NPCs, they drink on a much faster cycle. But that's about as good as I was able to do for just pure no loadout. And I think it worked out alright. There's plenty of poison on Dartmoor. No need to worry about that. The next contract is called the Butler's Butcher. We have to kill Mr. Fernsby and a number of other people as mansion staff. We have to kill the maid and the lawyer with a cleaver, and we have to kill Mr. Fernsby in an accident.
About a month.
So it's not all the same thing.
What on earth are you doing in this
Two of them will
shithole?
be
A girl like you belongs to
specialty
clubs in
kills
London. I bet you're
with
great
a
done.
very dangerous weapon, and one will just be an accident, which was easy to engineer. So the first thing we'll do is we'll come down here, we'll press ourselves up against here and kind of move the camera until we can pickpocket that silenced gun.
Rebecca? Yeah.
As long as we're pressed up against cover, they won't see us grab it. And then we're going to head for the kitchen. And we need to do this because the only cleaver on the map that I'm aware of is right here in the kitchen.
He gave me his coat and all.
I picked up the propane to try and make picking up the cleaver a little less obvious, but unfortunately if one of those NPCs does see you within a couple seconds of picking up the cleaver, it will compromise you, so you have to be a little careful. Now Fernsby is in there talking to the maid, but there's not really any point in waiting for him right now, so we'll just throw the propane, which we'll be preparing for him later. And once he leaves, we'll throw a coin. That should get the maid's attention. This doesn't matter if Fernsby's there or not. The maid should almost always hear it, even over the Carlisle who's in there. So we will kill her with the cleaver and dump her in the bathroom here. Nobody should be coming through here, but just to be on the safe side, I'll go ahead and do that. So next we need to get Fernsby, but when he's in the main hall, he'll come in response to this vacuum. So we'll hide behind the door here, let him get back. Now we've set up some leaking propane, so all we need is a shot on it. And that'll kill Fernsby. And we'll just get out of here. His body can be found, it's fine. It's an accident kill, even though it was a nasty explosion. Next thing we need to do is kill Aaron Ford, the lawyer. Now he's up in his room, his guest room, with his guard. He sits at his desk, and as far as I know, he pretty much never leaves. You can probably, you know, trigger the reading of the will or something like that, but that's only going to move him into an area with more people. So what we want to do instead is climb up to the bedroom. The bedroom of the murder victim is right across the hall from Mr. Ford. So what we'll do is we will plant a gun.
Aaron Ford Jr.
You could just knock the
Morgan
guard out,
Nathan Cohn.
but what I want to
need
do
to get a
here
listing of
is
asset
just do
transfers
no
from the
knockouts.
Commonwealth
So
account.
instead I'll just place the
number
gun, and when he turns around from
5085.
looking through the window,
No,
he'll see it
I
and
need
walk
it
off with it. He's not a bodyguard or
Yes,
anything
I'll-
special like that. It's just
Hey.
the guy who happens to be the guard in
Yes, I'm
the
still
lawyer's
here.
room. So if you want, you can just knock him
What do you
out,
mean it doesn't exist?
but I'm just going to do it this way.
Right. I'll double check.
And once he leaves, we need to kill the lawyer. Now, I want to be careful with this, though, because I found that if you just throw the cleaver at his head while he's sitting in his chair, he can get stuck, and he just sort of won't actually be possible to drag and dump, which could cause problems if his guard comes back.
Who's breaking stuff?
So instead, I'll just throw a coin to distract him. See, he's kind of weirdly sticky there. Finally, we get to dump him. And now we can just leave. We weren't allowed back there, but as soon as we walk past the checkpoint, we're in an area where mansion staff is allowed to be. I probably could have just gone back into Zachary's room and gone out that way. Not sure why I'm going this route.
Mr. Whitmer, thank you for coming on such short notice.
Oh, that's right, I know
A
why I'm
great
going this
tragedy
route,
has
because
fallen
there
upon
is
us, and I
a
need a quick
required
word.
exit. It's not shown anywhere on the map. It's because I think it's bugged a little bit. It's the motorbike at the main entrance where you start the mission in your suit. That's the only exit you can use on this one. Again, there's no reason for that complication to be added in any way whatsoever, especially since you can freely start as mansion staff and just walk right out, which we'll do. But for some reason that one was flagged as a mandatory exit, and we'll just have to do it. There we are. So that should be our silent assassin. Pretty slow, but what are you gonna do? The third contract is the Assassination of GJM. We will be doing this one suit only, since we're required to do so anyway, and we'll be doing it with no loadout on-site procurement here. So we'll start in the back instead of the main entrance, because that's just, it takes way too long.
I doubt that's true, though. No, he was
Now
here
we
when
do
the
need a
second
pistol
Madame Carlyle's office
to
was
kill Gregory
repaired last
Carlyle,
week.
but
Get to carry
as you
some
may
heavy
recall
bolts
from our last run,
back.
we know where a silenced pistol is, so that won't be as much of a problem as you might figure. But first, we need to run through here, and then come out the window this way. Because again, we're trespassing, obviously, we're in our
She's the
suit,
assistant, that one.
so we want to make
She
sure
gets asking all kinds of questions.
that we
Who had the other one?
use
Why
the
I
same
gave it
trick
to her,
there to
that
get the
sort of
pistol.
thing.
We're also going to grab some soap. I think I just wanted a throwable. Yeah, so what we want to do here is we're going to throw the soap to get Gregory Carlyle to stand up, and we're going to gun lure him so that he comes towards us. That'll get him out of the room and keep his guards from looking at us. Shoot him in the head. Drag him a little ways back. And that should be fine. No one should see him now. So we'll walk out. Now we need a unicorn horn. There's one up in Alexa's secret room, but there are others that you can just break off these unicorn statues, so that's much quicker.
Got to be kidding. Nothing here.
And we'll need to kill the next couple of targets
Carlisle will be furious.
with the
Okay.
unicorn horn, so we'll just have to stab him. Need to just run over this way. On our way to the graveyard area. This was a little risky because they turn and look in that direction right as they're reaching that part of their patrol, but I was fairly confident that I'd break line of sight with the foliage before that was an issue. Now this target you can easily lure back here by just turning off the generator. And I'm going to turn it back on to make sure nobody else gets interested in it. And she'll walk around it and bring herself right to this area. And as soon as she's just kind of over this way, pop the stab with the unicorn horn and drag her into the bushes here. We're going to go back across the way we came, because if we try to go the other ways, it generally results in being seen. We need to be using these bushes as best we can. So even though you're not in the bushes, if you're crouched, you will break line of sight with them, so that's kind of important because you don't necessarily need to run through the bushes, but you can use them to kind of act as cover. Now the last target is a guard. He's kind of just over in the parking lot area. There's another unicorn horn here if you need it, and we're just going to use that as a distraction. Since he's a guard, we don't have to worry about him telling someone else to go investigate, because the only other person there's a civilian, so even if they both heard it, he would go and investigate because he's a guard.
It's too
Just
bad
wait
we're not
and
allowed to
see.
tell. That would make a great story to publish.
As soon as he's kind of over here, you stab him like this, no one will notice for whatever reason. And now we just need to get out. But we're already really close to the front of the mansion anyway. So getting out by normal means, just kind of sneaking this way, shouldn't be too difficult. We'll go over to the little crossing area instead of the bridge. Although I think you could probably just go over the bridge, but don't want to risk it with those guards. Vault over the wall, and at this point we're no longer trespassing, so we can just run straight to the bike and get on out. And that'll be Sound Assassin. Not quickly. The fourth contract is called Don't You Know That You're Toxic, and once again, we have to poison people. I was getting really tired of that at this point, so I'm not going to do a no loadout run or anything like that. I'll just do something quote-unquote normal. So we'll start as the investigator, because that's kind of the universal access disguise. I mean, there are still trespassing places for the investigator, but there are a lot fewer of them than most other disguises, and we start right in the mansion area. We will grab some emetic, because we're going to need to mix up some poisons again. Now, you've seen this already. However, we're going to do it slightly differently, because there's a crowbar that we're just going to get from a different location behind the greenhouse, and we're going to briefly start here to poison that water bottle, because that belongs to the photographer, and we need to kill him as the private detective, and I think everyone else as gardener. So we will need to change disguises and have the timing be just right. We will break into the greenhouse. I'm going in through a different door because the guard is closer to the other one right now. Go ahead and do that. We'll fix up the poisoning mixer, and we will mix up 2 emetic flowers and a rat poison for 3 additional poisons. We brought 1 with us, so we should have 4 now, 1 for each target. Well, we used the one that we brought with us for the photographer, but we did have it when we came in here. So we need to get Edward, who we've already seen, Rebecca, who we've already seen, and Alexa, who is somewhat more interesting, because we haven't gotten her yet. And she's upstairs and is a main target, so she has a very complex schedule that could potentially cause us problems. So what we'll want to do is go after Alexa first, because timing just kind of makes it ideal. Now, unless you tell Mr. Fernsby that you have solved the mystery, he will not let you upstairs to Alexa's office, and you will be considered trespassing. Okay, now, as you can see, we killed the photographer as a detective. We were in the detective's disguise, so now we can just take a guard disguise, and that'll make it much quicker and easier for us to go upstairs. I may have been mistaken about the gardener one. I'm getting so many of these mixed up, because they're all stupid consumed poison ones. Anyway, Alexa just finished drinking some tea, and that's the tea we're going to poison. But we're going to need to get her staff distracted so that we can safely poison that tea. You may think that the maid lady over here by the bed can't see what you're doing, but she absolutely can. Except in that position, but I don't want to take the risk, so I'll knock her out and just dump her in here. And I'll go ahead and poison Alexa's tea. She should be back in here eventually to go ahead and drink that, as long as we don't disrupt her schedule in some other way. And now we can go downstairs. You know, it actually might be that you need to be in a different disguise, and I'm just being very clever here and using an intermediary one. Frankly, I've forgotten completely. This is probably the worst of the contracts, just because it's long, it's boring, it's a retread of things that they've already had contracts for. It's like, do we really need this many consume poison contracts? So we come in through the window. Now, we're not trespassing, so it just confuses Edward rather than upset him. We just want to distract him. because while he's working on his phone, he'll start turning a little bit. You know, he'll kind of pace. He can easily spot you poisoning, even though it looks like his back is turned to you. So we got him poisoned.
Stop pacing, for God's sake.
We need to poison Rebecca.
Why don't we get any kind of explanation? It's bloody rude. That's what
Good day to you,
Which,
sir.
unfortunately, we have just missed the opportunity, because she's going to go drink. But we do need to wait on Alexa anyway. And so, oh well.
You look tanned.
Okay, I guess this wasn't any disguise for the
I
others.
bet Mother
I
spent
don't
the
know why we
last
have to
week
be a
at her
private
Cyprus
investigator for
estate.
one.
Am I right?
These contracts were not as well designed or well chosen as the
I
last
need
batch.
to know what's going on.
Just say that right now. There's a lot of fun things you can do on Dartmoor, and poisoning is certainly one of them. But do we really need, like, multiple contracts involving poison? Okay, so I'm looking here to see if Alexa is indeed going into her room, because I
that's
can't
true, though.
really tell.
No, he was here when the safe in Madame Carlyle's office was repaired last week. He had to carry some heavy bolt to the top floor. He complained about back pain for the entire weekend.
That's just bonkers. Why lie about a trip to Denton? Who does that? The Harmers, that.
And at this point, the mission is basically complete. Alexa's gonna die there, but it's gonna take Rebecca until she comes back on her cycle. That'll take another minute or so. So I would recommend using the timestamps and just skipping to the end here, because this is gonna take a minute. I mean, you're welcome to stay, but it's just gonna be 47 standing here at the pier while we painfully wait for Rebecca to decide to turn back around and go get her water. Now, if you're doing this one fast, the main issue is going to be dealing with Rebecca and Alexa's schedules, and also Edward's to a lesser extent. You also need to make sure that the photographer is poisoned pretty much on his first cycle. Again, a lot of these guys have kind of long cycles, which I don't like. I mean, I get that it kind of makes it like a puzzle-solving contract as to who to poison when, but it's also very inflexible. Consume poison is often going to be like this, where you kind of set it up and you're done, and you're just waiting for it to end. And this is definitely a situation like that, because Rebecca is finally going to drink her water, finally going to die, and finally allow us to leave the mission with Solid Assassin. The one good thing is that since this is all consumed poison, those bodies can be found without any difficulty, because it's considered an accident or poison kill, and that'll take care of it. The final KindaFunny contract is the Mystery of the Tricky Trio. Now, I'm not doing this one on-site procurement, because it is actually somewhat interesting. We need to kill the private detective with a saber. We need to kill Mr. Fernsby with a unicorn horn. And I forget what we're supposed to kill the photographer with, but we got to take him out too. So, confusingly, we're going to actually start as the private investigator. We're going to come over here and grab a unicorn horn. Kind of same place we grabbed it previously.
Got to be kidding me. No power, no portrait.
Oh, Madame Carlyle will be furious.
We're going to, I guess we're going to poison this guy again. See, very interesting there, yeah. Let's have 3 of the 5 contracts be doing the same things, right? Okay, so now we need Fernsby. Now we already know from previous contracts that we can distract Fernsby with the vacuum cleaner. And he walks right into a nice little area where nobody else goes. Attention. And we don't really need to hide from him like we did last time, because he is not an enforcer of the private detective. He doesn't know who the private detective is. He knows all the staff in the house, but he doesn't know the detective. So that allows us to just kind of stab him. And we can just kind of leave him there. It's not going to matter. We'll be done with the mission long before Fernsby becomes an issue. If anyone even finds him, they might find him going downstairs. So we come towards his office, and that's where we can get a saber. Now we're going to leave. Now, you may recall that we still have to kill the private detective. So you might ask, well, if you start as the private detective, where is the private detective? And the answer is, strangely enough, that he just kind of stands by the entrance. I guess he's like annoyed that they think that the private detective is already here. I don't know. However, we've got to deal with the fact that there are 2 guards at the gate, and we cannot be spotted committing a crime.
Shit.
So we're going to go ahead and emetic them, so that they will turn around and they will end up walking in through the gates. We also have to throw a coin. The reason for that is that we cannot be spotted committing a crime. That includes by any of the targets. Normally you can be spotted by a target and still get silent assassin, but here, as a complication objective, we have to make sure that Whitmer does not see us stab him with the saber. And since we're right near the bike anyway, we can leave with a time of 2:24, which is by no means even close to the fastest time. But it's okay. And that's all of them.